Hey, gang, I want to make a quick announcement. Since we started this podcast in 2011, only the last 20 episodes have been available on the streaming services. You had to go back to the Podbean app or to the website, howdidigethere.podbean.com, to access past the last 20 episodes. Well, gang, big surprise. As of now, the last 100 episodes are available on all streaming sites. That includes the From the Vault episodes. All of the episodes, the last 100 episodes from this episode back, are available now on all streaming services, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Overcast, Stitcher. Go there. Whichever one you're subscribed to, whichever one you use the most, go subscribe to How Did I Get Here. Follow us, rate us, leave us a comment if you can, and check out the episodes, man. 100 episodes, all available. If you still want to go back beyond the 100 episodes, you can download the Podbean app or go to howdidigethere.podbean.com and always scroll through our entire catalog. All right? Get out there and enjoy the last 100 episodes of How Did I Get Here on your favorite streaming services. Let's get down. Attention musicians of all levels. It's not always easy picking out a song by ear. Sometimes you need a little help. Well, I have the app for you. Whether you're a professional musician or a beginner, Ultimate Guitar is an amazing app. For just $2.99, you get the chords and tabs on guitar, bass, or ukulele for over 1 million songs. They're all available at your fingertips. You also get tools like a tuner, metronome, chord library, lessons, videos, and more. You can find out any song you want. It also has like transpose button. It has auto scroll that you can change the speed to so you can play along with the song. A lot of the songs have the lyrics there so you can sing along with them. Ultimate Guitar is an amazing app. Just go to ultimateguitar.com or download the app to your phone today and start playing. Start playing any song you want. Ultimate Guitar, that's the place for you. Let's get down.
And you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here?
It's time for How Did I Get Here? And now here is your host,
All right. Hello, I'm Johnny. I'm your host. Welcome to the show. I hope you guys have all had a good week. It's been a really beautiful week here in Austin. I'm not just talking small talk about the weather. You know what I mean? When the weather's really nice like this, it really lifts my spirits. You know, when it's like low humidity, the high temperatures are pretty low, like in the 70s. Keeps it nice, man. Me and Rosie been going for lots of walks, lots of long walks, just enjoying the days till the summer comes and ruins everything for everyone. It's been a really fun week, man. I've done a lot of really, really great podcasts I'm very, very proud of. Oh, and speaking of the podcast, gang, I know you heard it at the very top of the show, but now on your streaming services, like for years since we started the show, only the last 20 episodes have been available. Now the last 100 episodes have been available. So what does that mean to you? So I'm saying, like, if you go back through the last 100 episodes of this show starting right now, you'll get to hear my conversations with new heroes like Urban Heat, legends like Ruthie Foster, people like Madam Radar, Pat Byrne, Jonathan Terrell, Rudy Sarzo from Quiet Riot, Ozzy Osbourne, and Whitesnake, the Smithereens, my episode where Quiet Company says goodbye. It's like a 2-hour conversation, just me and Taylor Muse talking about the whole Quiet Company experience that he had. Marty Wilson Piper from The Church, Doug Cosmo Clifford, the drummer from Creedence Clearwater Revival, is on my show. And also there's a lot of From the Vault episodes that are available on there, like Styx. Yeah, my convo with Styx, with JY from Styx. James J.Y. Young. That's right. Adrian Quesada, Ray Wiley Hubbard. So many episodes. Get back there and check it out. You can still access all of the episodes of How Did I Get Here by going to our website, howdidigethere.podbean.com, or by downloading the Podbean app, which also has all of your favorite podcasts on there. So, but if you deal in the Spotify or the Apple Podcasts or Stitcher or any of those, now the last 100 episodes are available to you at any given time. I just read off some pretty good ones that are out there, so get back there, check them out. Start there. That's what I'm saying. Start there. Gang, before I tell you about the show today, I was just about to tell you I have a great show for you. I got to see Kelly McWee on Tuesday night. I went to the Continental Club. I saw her play. I know she's doing one more in a couple weeks. Go find her. She's amazing. I mean, she's an amazing songwriter. She just put out this great song that she did at with Bruce Robeson over at Next Waltz with amazing musicians. Some duets that she's done with our dear friend Dan Dyer, who's been on the show a couple times. And man, she's just phenomenal. She is phenomenal. Look her up. Go find her on Instagram. Her shows are, I think, not this coming Tuesday, but the Tuesday after, she'll be playing at Continental Club again. It's an early show, 6:30. Come on out early. Check it out. Sun's still shining outside. But what an amazing music. She had John Chipman on drums. She had Bruce Hughes on bass and singing beautiful backing vocals. A couple of guys from the band of Heathens that are so great. Colin Brooks, I think, was playing guitar and pedal steel. Amazing band. I cannot say enough about Kelly McWee. You've heard her on the show. She's fantastic. I love her. Maybe I'll throw up a From the Vault episode of hers so you guys can hear it. Maybe she'll come back on the show. I actually asked her to come back on the show a couple weeks ago. I was like, hey, you want to come back on the show? You got some singles out. She's like, nah, it's not. Nah, no. I want to go on there and be talking all the time. So Kelly McWee, get out there and check her out. She's amazing. So, gang, I have an amazing show for you today. I'm so excited. This has been years in the making. Years in the works trying to get this songwriter, this phenomenal singer-songwriter on my show. Gang, today I'll be talking to singer-songwriter Slaid Cleaves. His brand new album, Together Through the Dark, is out now wherever it is you stream and download your music. It was produced by my dear friend Scrappy Judd Newcomb. Phenomenal producer. This is the third record that they've done together. I've never had the chance to talk to Slaid. He's been here since 91, about since I have. He did we actually start talking about this place called Lubbock or Leave It, where you would go and have your tapes made, which was so awesome. You know, you'd have your tapes duped in the early 90s because you sold tapes at your shows. You'd be having a weekend run and you'd be like, shit, we need some more merch. So you'd run to this place. They'd dupe off, anywhere from 50 to 100 or 200 tapes for you. You take them out on the road that weekend, send them and sell them and make your money. Anyway, this new album, Slaid Cleaves' new album, Together Through the Dark, is fucking gorgeous. Unbelievable songs. I was really blown away. There's a song called Put the Shovel Down that really kind of touched me and made me rethink some things in my life. Like, that's the thing is, like, songwriters like this, they dig in so deep. Like, it really made me feel self-conscious as a songwriter listening to his stuff. I spent like a week or so, like, just living in the world of Slaid Cleaves' music, and it was great. I really loved it. I enjoyed every minute of it. It's like a guy that you've seen around town for years. You know he plays here all the time. You know he's on tour all the time. Scrappy's been telling me to get him on the show all the time. But you don't really realize what you're dealing with until you just roll up your sleeves and dig into this man's music. And it was unbelievable, man. We have a fantastic conversation about his journey in music, starting out in Maine, where he lived, getting started busking in Cork, Ireland, on the streets there. After a breakup, he was moving to Ireland with this girl, and she broke up with him on the plane ride there, and he got there, he had nothing. So he started busking, started writing songs and getting out there and doing stuff, and just such an amazing songwriter. His songs are so deep. The stories are so rich. I mean, this is like an American treasure songwriter. We talk about Mary Gauthier. You've heard her on the show last year a couple of times, actually. And just like the amount of work that he puts in, like his process of songwriting, the amount of work he puts in is unbelievable. He said like 40 hours a song, 40 hours writing a song. That's crazy. No, it's not crazy. I mean, look at his songs. They're fucking deep, heavy. Some of them have a message. There's a song on here. There's a song, Puncher's Choice. Reminds me of my Uncle Jack. It totally took me to my Uncle Jack. You'll be hearing the song Through the Dark, which is a gorgeous song. Fantastic song here. That song that kicks off the record, Together Through the Dark. You can find him at slaidcleaves.com. And listen, gang, him and Scrappy are going on the road. And they're hitting it starting tomorrow, Saturday, April 15th at McCabe's Guitar Shop in Santa Monica, California. So if you're listening in California, I know we got some people in the Cali listening to the show, some people in the LA, maybe in Santa Monica. I can't really zero in with my analytics like that. But if you are listening, get out there and check them out. Scrappy Judd Newcomb is an amazing musician. We're great friends. He produced my last EP, Leper Hands, and he's produced the last 3 records for my guest today, Slaid Cleaves. The first few records were produced by the amazing Gurf Morlix, who's been on the show. I love that guy. Amazing. So they'll be on the road from April 15th to April 24th. Go to slaidcleaves.com. Find out more about what's going on with Slaid. Get this record. It's available on vinyl. It's available on CD. It's available wherever it is that you stream and download your jams. Sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied. It's his first album in 5 years. So if you're a Slaid Cleaves fan, I hope you enjoy our conversation. I hope I do him justice for you. I had a really great time getting to know him. So without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with this amazing artist, Slaid Cleaves. Let's get down.
Dark clouds gather on the western range. This time it feels like more than just another cold, hard rain. Rivers rising over old floodlines. Here come the prophets calling out the end of time.
All right, so we were just talking about, like, we should have met at some point. Maybe we have.
We have so many friends in common.
Yeah.
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 I remember hearing about you from Barbara Roseman.
Who's that?
Remember her? She used to run Lubbock or Leave It.
Oh, yeah.
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 She passed away a few years ago.
Oh, that's sad to hear.
She was a wonderful soul. Yeah.
Man, I was just like, it must have been like a month ago. My friend Einar and I were talking about going there to dub the cassettes.
Yeah, right. I did that many times.
Yeah.
But I met her at Kerrville. It must have been my first time at Kerrville in 92, probably. And I played a song on the Threadgill stage. And, I was a nobody. I just moved here from Maine,
Yeah.
Sight unseen, pretty much. Yeah, I played one of my new songs at the Threadgill stage, and I got off stage, and she ran up to me, and all 4'10" or whatever she was, looked up at me with these big eyes. I remember she was wearing an orange tube top and cutoffs, and she was suntanned and brown as a nut, and she looked up at me and said, "Who are you?" We're friends ever since. Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, I have to tell you, like I've heard your stuff through the years, and I don't think I've ever seen you play. Not that I remember.
Right.
But I've heard it through the years. But like doing a deep dive and listening to your songs, maybe I didn't do it before because I was intimidated by just like the sheer artistry and fucking craftsmanship that you wield like a sword.
Wow. Thanks so much.
Bequeathed to you by a god.
Oh my goodness.
That's a lot. I'm serious though, man, because like you're in that world of like the Mary Gaucher, like Yoda level songwriters. You know what I mean?
Well,
and I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. Like I'm just like this record, Together Through the Dark. It's amazing, and Scrappy speaks so highly of you and all that stuff too, and everybody does. But like digging into this record, there's a song that really made me think about my life, and I can't remember the last time that a song made me go like, "Man, what are you doing?" and that put the shovel down.
Oh yeah,
that's a powerful piece of
philosophy.
Philosophy, yes.
I have a philosophy degree, actually.
That's what I read. Yeah. The philosophy and English. So you do it well.
Thanks so much, man.
Yeah,
That's
man.
nice to hear.
And Scrappy, this is the third record you did with Scrappy?
Yeah, the first one was Still Fighting the War. We did down in Cedar Creek. And we did one at Dave, what's his name? Dave, the keyboard player who has the place in East Austin.
Oh, yeah, Dave, yeah.
Can't think of his
Dave.
name, right? Dave from Australia.
Dave.
Yeah.
Why am I drawing a blank on his? I hope he doesn't listen to this. I recorded there with Scrappy too.
Yeah.
It's a great place, that church house.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And the new one we did down at the Zone in Wimberley. Dripping Springs.
Dripping Springs.
Yeah.
Is that Mansky on the drums?
Yeah. Yep.
I fucking love that guy, man.
Yeah, he's great.
He's great.
Yeah.
There's this. Oh God, hold on. Let me see if I can see the name. There's a thing where he hits a snare drum where you. There's a song that kind of like goes through. It's kind of the same. It does some key changes. God, I'm drawing a blank on the name of it. I'm sorry.
Are you talking about where he like hits the snare like it sounds like a mistake, but it's not? Oh.
Yeah, he just kind of changes the. Yeah, it does sound like it. Not to me.
Right.
But like I could see how someone would think it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was amazing. He engineered, so I would lay down a track to a take to a click track, and then we'd build the song up from there in most cases because he was engineering and drumming.
Right.
So we couldn't really do live tracks on this record. But
Right.
I'd play with Scrappy live, and then we'd add the drums and bass afterwards. So, yeah, Pat, he was working the knobs, and then we'd switch gears, and he'd go to the drum set, and he told Scrappy what button to hit, so Scrappy engineered,
Yeah.
While Pat was just like making up these parts on the spot. Yeah.
So amazing. Before we get into there's sort of like an idea of how I want this to be structured because there's so much, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I don't want to glaze over some stuff and I don't want to dwell too deeply in some stuff. But let's talk about this record and working with somebody like Scrappy. Like what does a producer bring to the table for you, or what do you look for in a producer to do? Because you've only really worked with two, right? Gurf, you did a bunch of records with, and then Scrappy.
Yeah. In between those, I worked with Rod Picott, my childhood friend and co-writer.
Read about him
up in Nashville. Yeah,
yeah.
He did a great job on the Unsung record, which was all songs by friends of mine, basically.
Yeah.
But
you know what? I kind of wish those. You know what I hate about streaming? I love streaming as a fan of music because I can go like, I want to listen to this right now, and I
research.
can.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
But you can't find out any of the information about. Like, I don't know who wrote those songs.
Yeah. I've spent hours and hours trying to upload lyrics and credits and stuff, and it's just a mess right now.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, it's a waste of time.
No, but I mean, a record like that, like I listened to it the other day, and I was like, I know Graham Weber has a song on there.
That's right.
I don't know what song it was.
Oh, Roberta.
I think I remember that song. Anyway, sorry.
What I look for in a producer is someone who has access to great musicians that would fit on the record and ideas on how to employ them on the record. Because I feel like it's almost like my job is done if I've got the chord changes and the rough arrangement and the lyrics down and the melody.
Right.
I feel like at that point I'm sort of exhausted. I don't know what to do next. So I call on someone like Gurf or Scrappy to help me flesh out the songs.
Right. And I've worked with Scrappy, but I don't know if you know what I mean? Like if they served the same purpose in mind. Because I know in mine, there was like stuff in songs where he was like, dude, we need a little shift here. Go to D.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He's done that a couple times. A little,
really?
little chord change here just to mix things up just a little bit. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So as a writer, he does an amazing job. You guys do a great job together. Thanks. And you're a great songwriter. The records you did with Gurf are amazing as well.
Gurf's amazing, of course.
Yeah, he's cool. I've never worked with him, but I did do one of these with him, and I love talking to him.
He's got so many amazing stories.
Yeah, he really does.
Yeah.
And he's so cool. Like, he's just like, whatever happens when Fonzie gets older. You know what I mean?
That's perfect. Yeah, he's
like
the coolest, man.
Yeah, he's the coolest.
Yeah.
So as a writer, my question is, how much labor? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm a real, like, first draft kind of person. I hate going back and whittling on things, but that's my trip.
Yeah.
But when I'm listening to your songs, there's so much imagery, and you set up scenes so well. Like you can close yours. There's the photo, the song, the Second Hand song, like just the opening of that one, right. The opening of Terlingua Chili Queen. Like I see that lady with my eyes closed standing in a building in Dallas. You know what I mean? Like, how much time do you spend on a song?
A lot. I remember talking about this with Mary Gaucher 25 years ago.
Yeah.
We were starting out, and she estimated that she spends about 40 hours on a song.
Fuck.
And that's probably pretty close to me. Like the Chili Queen song, Terlingua Chili Queen. The origination of that was, I have to give credit where credit's due. I work with a handful of co-writers, so half of my songs I've written with other people. So,
really?
So
okay.
I have to give credit. Wranglin' Ron Coy is this bigger-than-life character who used to run ski shores.
Yeah. I love that place.
Yeah,
I used to go see Will and Steven out there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They know Ron. I don't know if you know Ron, but
yeah, maybe I do.
Ron knows them.
Yeah. He
ran the place, kind of ran it into the ground because he's so generous,
Yeah.
But he's just a wild character who grew up in Corpus. He was his first job was he was a bouncer at a topless club down there, and he worked in the refineries. He worked in the oil fields. He grew marijuana out in Oregon. He worked on an oil ship off the coast of Africa. He was a rancher in Wimberley for a while. So he's got all this life experience. And just before the pandemic, he left Wimberley and he went down to Terlingua to help a friend of his build a combination laundromat and saloon. And that was his goal in life.
Wow.
Ron says, I don't make plans, I have visions. Anyway, I dropped his name in a few songs years ago, and he hear me play a song that mentioned him in Green Hall or something. So and then he started pitching ideas to me, taken from his wild life. And so soon after he got down to Terlingua, he started sending me texts about this gal he hooked up with and was running around with down in Terlingua who was from Dallas. And, just a handful of little texts. And we built the song together out of that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I just, I love the idea of, I've got lots of sort of manly songs, lumberjacks and coal miners and stuff like that, workplace disaster songs.
Yeah.
And I noticed...
Workplace disaster songs.
Yeah, that's kind of my forte.
She writes songs to help promote OSHA and safety in the workplace.
There you go. And also, I noticed, according to Spotify, 80% of my audience is male. And
really?
Yeah. But, is that just because
it's like
the guys are the ones who sign up and, sign up with a credit card and buy it for the family? Or is it really 80% dudes listening to my Spotify?
What does it look like in the audience? Maybe they bring a date?
It looks 50-50, yeah, in the audience. It doesn't seem that way.
Yeah.
But it got me thinking I should have an adventure song, an epic song for the gals out there. So that was one goal in the back of my mind. It's like, I need an epic for the gals.
Yeah.
So that's the Chili Queen song.
That's funny. You're like Rush or something.
Like Rush.
Yeah, I just know. Have you ever met a woman that's like, "Hey, dude, Rush is my favorite band, dude." You know what I mean? Or like Dream Theater or something, whatever. King Crimson.
Right. No, other shows I see the gals for sure, but for some reason Spotify, all dudes.
That's wild. Yeah. So you live in Wimberley? Wimberley?
Yeah.
You go on the Wimberley Valley Radio?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you been down there to visit?
Oh, yeah.
Played on Coach's show?
I love that guy.
He's so good.
My friends and bandmates have a show.
Oh, who's that?
Todd Crusham. He does the Toddy and the Pooch, but then they do Teenage Men.
What's that?
And that's a show. It's exactly what we guys my age just talk about how great music was when we were teenagers, Right. And a lot of us they actually they did like one interview on that show. Paul Simon.
Oh,
one interview. I've done like 1,280,000 million, and I can't get Paul Simon to call me. But these guys, they did one, and it was Paul Simon. It's pretty great.
Yeah, I haven't heard the interview, but a couple weeks later, I hadn't even heard about the interview, but a couple weeks later, I'm driving around, and I hear someone playing a Paul Simon song, me and Julio, down by the schoolyard. And, his voice was a little rough, but his guitar playing was a little rough, but you could tell this guy really knew the song. He really knew every part of the song. It was Paul Simon.
I just saw this trailer earlier today. My friend Kyle Crusham Todd's brother, co-produced his new album that's coming
the connection,
out.
I guess.
Yeah. And there's a video promo for it. I'll send it to you. It's mind-blowing. It's really awesome. Plus, your friends in there, you knew he's been doing this, and he's been doing this with him.
Right.
But then all of a sudden, you see it, and he's in the thing, working. He's got his headband on and stuff, and there's Paul Simon.
Yeah.
Playing and singing. That's crazy.
Were they at the Zone or somewhere else?
No, they were in Arlen, and what's that, Avatar in New York? One of those big,
I don't know,
Mama Loaf studios.
No.
Anyway. Have you seen Paul Simon and Edie Brickell in your neighborhood?
I haven't bumped into them. I bump into Ray Wiley once in a while.
Yeah, he's out there.
Yeah, I saw him at the hardware store a couple weeks ago.
Here's something that your wife Karen, and you run your operation now.
Yeah, I had a label for about 10 years, and then kind of phased out of that. And
wait, you had a label that support, not your label.
I had label support.
Label support. Okay, right. That was the Rounder Philo, right? Okay.
Broke Down, the Wishbones records, the Unsung records. Yeah, 4.5 records with them.
Okay.
And the contract ended with the fourth record in 2006. And they offered another 4-record deal, but I could see the writing on the wall that, I had sort of built my career, and I felt like don't really need a label, I think, anymore, or like a full-service label.
Right.
I found my audience. Label and we did our job in the 2000s. And they got the record out there, the Broke Down record, to radio and press, and it did well, and I seized on that and toured relentlessly for a few years, and with a cool little combo, played some festivals and stuff, and by the mid 2000s, I was pretty happy with where I was, and I figured, and Karen had also started to take over some of the management jobs and took over as a booking agent just slowly over several years, and we started to feel like we could just make it a mom and pop. We had a management for a while, and we just figured that's just a luxury that we can't afford right now. So we decided to go mom and pop about 10 or 12 years ago. And it's been good, but it's hard. It's a lot of work. I just put out a record, our second record by ourselves.
Oh, this is just the second one. Oh, because you were doing it through LaFave's label.
Yeah,
after
I
that.
did have label
What a
help
great
from
guy
LaFave
that guy was.
Oh, yeah. I miss
Jesus.
him dearly.
Yeah.
He had a little boutique label in town, which was very helpful, but not a full-service label.
Sure.
But we went totally cold turkey with the record 5 years ago, and that kicked our butts. And this one, as we're 5 years older, and it's really kicking our butts.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Like the Sharon and Ozzy of Wimberley.
Like the who?
The Sharon and Ozzy Osbourne. She's always running his thing.
we call it the Ray Wiley and the Judy.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they're sort of our role models.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they've done an amazing job. But he has a booking agent, though, right?
He does have an agent and label, but Judy, runs the show and is the backbone of the operation.
Well, I was looking at your touring schedule. You've got a lot coming up. This is going to come out on Friday. So tomorrow you'll be at McCabe's Guitar Shop at legendary...
Yeah, kicking off the tour.
Room, yeah.
Yeah. Have you played there?
Never.
Yeah, it's a cool place.
Yeah?
Yeah, we're flying out there this weekend with Scrappy and Karen as road manager. And we'll hit about 8 or 9 shows between L.A. and Seattle, where I've been playing for 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're going to do the East Coast, a little bit of East Coast stuff.
Yeah. For some reason, not much lined up. We grew up in Maine, Karen and I, and we go back every summer. And we bought a little cabin in the woods about 12 years ago.
Is that I found some weird article about some campy guys
off the grid cabin.
The grid. Yeah.
It's the cabin. I call it a camp in Maine. We usually fly up and check on that in April or May and play a few shows, and then we'll come back to Texas, and then we'll drive up for the summer tour in July, where we hit that middle part of the country through Oklahoma and Missouri and Illinois and the rest.
Do you have a place where you write? Like, do you write up there? Do you have a room? Do you have a ritual every morning you get up? Do you do like morning pages and shit like that?
No, I tried that many years ago, and it didn't really take with me. These days, I do have to sequester myself, and I do it sort of seasonally. Right now, the season is putting the record out season. There's no writing at all right now.
Right, but are you like occasionally, if you get an idea, are you like gathering information?
Yeah, all year
on your recon missions.
Sure, I'm hopefully always on the lookout for a turn of phrase or a story or something, or even a melody. And I'll jot those down on the phone, quickly and collect those. And then when it's the writing season, which I don't do in Maine because we have our cabin is about the size of this room right here, and there's no way to go. Right. Karen and I in this tiny room. I could build a treehouse or something maybe out in the woods.
That is one thing. Like, I was married for 10 years, and I had my own room space over there, but I normally worked when she was gone.
Yeah.
At work. You know what I mean? Because I feel horrible for somebody having to hear those 3 chords over and over and over and over and over.
You can't have that. No.
Yeah. And I'm a little self-conscious, like someone watching you go to the bathroom or something.
Yeah. I have to be alone. Yeah. In the early days, when we lived in an apartment like this, I would write a little bit at night just before I went to bed, but mainly it was get in the car and pack a sleeping bag and a lunch and just tell Karen I wouldn't be back until I had a song. I did that for several years, my first few years in Austin. I'd go to state parks and just try to find somewhere with nobody else around and just jot away and just get away from all the distractions and chores and everything. And after a few years of that, I built up enough of a fan base where I had a few benefactors who would loan me guest houses or something like that.
That's cool.
That worked really well for several years. And now we have a guest house in Wimberley. So I pack a suitcase and a couple grocery bags of food say goodbye to Karen, and then walk down the steps and lock myself in the guest house. Don't see her for 3 days.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it works well.
Do you know Pat Byrne?
I just met him at the Saxon Pub a couple months ago.
That guy's fucking great too.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah.
I was talking to his manager on Saturday because we were talking about doing something. He has this really great idea, but he has a place, like some kind of hill country home that he wants to turn into a writing retreat for people.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I just
cool.
remembered. I think I heard Robert Earl Keen has a building on his property called the Scriptorium.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to have a place to get away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You definitely. I don't. I mean, I don't have a dining room. I mean, I have something that to me is way cooler than a dining room.
Yeah.
But yeah. But I just Rosie has to deal with it. It's no one here has to deal with anything else. So you're from Maine. You were born in Washington D.C. Mm-hmm. And when did you move to Maine?
My dad was in graduate school in D.C., and that's why he was there. And my mom had a job there. I think he was there because my mom got a job there. They were sort of junior high school friends and then hooked up after college. She taught kindergarten in D.C. right out of college, and my dad got into GW for graduate school as a psychologist. And then I was born, and then by the time my dad as soon as he got his PhD, he moved the family up to Maine, where he had summered and gone to college and sort of fell in love with the place, which started with his father. They used to rent a place on the coast of Maine starting in the 1940s. I think they were from Michigan in the 40s. They would drive all the way from Michigan to the coast of Maine for several weeks.
Wow.
Every summer, and then later from Connecticut.
This is a weird thing because I don't think I think that's one of the only, like, Hawaii, Alaska, Maine, and some other Dakota or something
Out there
I've
at
never been to.
At the end, yeah.
But are the summers there like? Did you ever see on Golden Pond when you were a kid?
I never did see that, but
Just-
it's probably
just
pretty
beautiful.
accurate. Yeah.
Just not like here. Like there's no death happening from heat,
right. No, it can
but you
get
can
a little,
still water ski.
Oh yeah. I don't
Yeah.
water ski. My brothers and my cousins did a
Yeah.
long time ago. But yeah, my grandfather had a place on the coast that we would go to for vacations. A beautiful rock-bound coast. It was idyllic. Yeah.
Yeah. So your parents were like, they were smart people. Are they still around?
My dad passed about 6 years ago, but my mom's still doing pretty well. She's 83 now.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear about your dad.
Yeah. Thanks. That's what happens.
But they impressed because there's, it seems like you're somebody that had some kind of like literature impressed upon you as a child that sort of drove you into. Does that make sense?
I
Is
got
that
a lot
right?
of attention. I was exposed to music and art at an early age. My mom quit her job teaching kindergarten, and then it was just me for 2.5 years till my
wow.
first brother came along. So I had the great benefit of that stimulus of I was drawing and painting and
Yeah.
listening to records.
Yeah.
And my parents grew up in the 50s and started collecting records, so I had Hank Williams and Johnny Cash and Mahalia Jackson and the Beatles and just all the best stuff.
Yeah.
And you could tell which records they let me play because
Right.
they're trashed.
Yeah. My aunts tell me that
3-year-old.
to this day. Yeah. They're like, man, all of my Meet the Beatles first pressing is destroyed by you. Yeah.
Why were we so hard on them? We didn't get the concept. That
Well, we were
they
little kids, and
delicate.
it was just you just shouldn't let little kids use turntables.
No, you shouldn't. My very first favorite song was "Good Day Sunshine."
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I remember reading a few years ago somebody ranked the Beatles songs, and that was at the very bottom, the 330th song.
Yeah, that's funny. I was in this I really like hippie progressive like preschool scene in Houston while my mom was going to St. Thomas University there. It was like right next to the university, and we had this really cool, I'm sure he was a stoner like teacher guy named William. And that was the first thing we did every day was go for a walk around the block, and we'd all sing "Good Day Sunshine." So everybody must have known the words at that point, right?
Yeah,
It's amazing.
so. Yeah.
It was like 1971 or 72 or something.
Yeah.
How did you gravitate towards like a musical instrument? Like, did somebody get it for you, or did you ask for it?
My dad played guitar around the house a little bit, so that was pretty exciting. He played for me and my little brothers. Played Puff the Magic Dragon and Johnny Cash songs, I think, Hank Williams. So that was sort of mesmerizing, you know, as a little guy. And I asked for guitar lessons when I was in second grade. And for some reason, they steered me towards the piano. I don't know if it's because they couldn't find a teacher or what. But I took piano sort of half-heartedly. It was kind of classical. And I was a terrible student because my heart really wasn't in it. But you know, when you're that young, you can't help but learn and soak up some stuff. So I learned a little bit of piano.
What did you want to do with the guitar? Like, why did you want to take the lessons?
I don't even know. Play Beatles songs, I guess. Okay. I was really heavily into the Beatles in grade school.
It's hard not to be, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just hard not to be.
Yeah, I was a snob. I remember taking my Sgt. Pepper album into the second grade show and tell and scoffing at the girl who brought her Partridge Family.
See, to me, in my mind, those are equal classics. Seriously, it's so fucked up, but it's true.
I was a real snob. I really was. So it wasn't until I was a teenager that I started looking for my own music, you know, that wasn't my parents' music.
Right.
And I was drawn, I wanted to, I was interested in music that had piano in it. And so I think the first record I bought to myself was Styx, The Grand Illusion.
Oh, yeah.
Because they had that piano part in it, or Come Sail Away, you know.
Yeah.
So I learned stuff like that. And then I got turned on to Springsteen through piano again and sort of found that sort of niche, you know, with my buddies and found the cool stuff.
There's great piano on the Springsteen records.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
When
like
I was,
pre-Born in the USA ones.
Oh, yeah. I got myself a songbook down at the mall that had Jungle Land in it and a lot of piano work in there.
Yeah.
And when I was 15 at the piano recital at the end of the year, I did Beethoven. And at 16, my last year of piano lessons, the teacher let me do Jungle Land with a sax player.
Oh, cool.
And you know, it was a real project for me and a great learning experience because the book I bought at the mall was like it was like a condensed version, an abridged version, a simplified version. So
right.
I used that as a starting off point, and then I got the record on a cassette and just kept hitting rewind to learn part by part all those piano parts. And we played it to a boombox of Springsteen because it was just me and the sax player, and I wasn't singing yet, so we had had to have something to play along to.
Right.
But it was a big hit. It was the finale of the piano recital that year.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Man, his songs are deceptively difficult.
Yeah.
You should ask. Scrappy and me had to do this thing. Well, didn't have to, but we did. Born to Run. For the Dudley and Bob 25th anniversary thing at like the Paramount.
Yeah, that's a hard song to play.
Yeah, like we initially rehearsed it like in pieces for the first couple of days, and I think finally put it together and did the whole thing. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to think that a 25-year-old sat on his bed and figured that out.
I know there's so much of that, and like it goes so many places.
Yeah.
A lot of his songs do. So that's interesting because you do have that sort of. Even though what you do is folk, and there's this amazingly perfect like country song you wrote, like perfect Texas love song,
a novelty song pretty much, but fun.
It's perfect.
Yeah,
I mean, like the genre, the nod to the sort of like, is that like a Bob Wills sort of vibe? Is that?
We did I asked Lloyd Maines to produce that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I just sent him the demo, and he did it on his own, you know. So I think the first version he sent was full of fiddle and steel, and it was real dance hall oriented.
Yeah.
And I asked him to tone it down for the record because it didn't really fit on the
right.
Scrappy was producing most of the.
Yeah, it's very songs. Outside of your. Okay, so that makes sense because I was like, man, I didn't know Scrappy.
Yeah.
I mean, I figure he can do mainly anything, but I didn't really think of him doing this, like executing it that well.
Yeah, you must have heard the dance hall version because that's.
I must have,
there.
yeah.
And the album version is just a little more stripped down and folky, but they both came out great.
Yeah.
And Mark Hallman at Congress House did a couple of the songs from that album too. The problem was, I took Tom Petty's advice. Well, I didn't actually. I made 3.5 records with Gurf, and on the last time I was working with Gurf, we were starting to butt heads a little bit, and the famous
Sure.
Jimmy Iovine quote is that after 3 records you need to
Yeah.
kill your producer.
That's right.
and put
Yeah,
your
yeah,
name in
yeah.
the art or something
Yeah.
like that. So I thought, well, as comfortable as I am working with Gurf, it's been such a great relationship all these years. I felt like I gotta step out and try something different. But I didn't know who to go with, and it's such a momentous decision. There's so much writing, there's so much investment, and handing over your songs to someone you don't know really well.
Yeah.
So the 3 top people on my list were Scrappy and Mark Hallman and Lloyd Maines. And so I just gave each of them the songs that I think they would like the most. And then I went off on tour. And then when I came back, I just sat down with them and finished up that batch of songs with them, with each of the producers. I ended up working mostly with Scrappy because he was in the band at that point. So he did 2/3 of the record, and then, or maybe half the record. And then Lloyd and Mark did the other handful.
Yeah. I met Mark when I was 13. My mom was his friend, his wife's friend,
Yeah.
his wife at the time's friend, sorry. And he totally took me under his wing, and that's like my mentor. And like, did you get turned on to Hallman through the Eliza records?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hard Times in Babylon especially was
Oh, a great
revelation.
record. I sing on that record.
Oh, right. Which
Welcome
ones?
Back. Is that right?
Back.
Is that on there? God, tell me.
I can't think of the title.
There's a song
Doesn't
called
sound right.
Welcome Back. And me and this guy, Jeff Klein, sing on it. I know that. I remember I was there.
Okay, I'll trust you for it.
Yeah.
I haven't listened for a while.
I think I was there. But yeah, she's an amazing songwriter.
Yeah, and soul as well.
Oh, yeah.
We got to. I got to know her just a little bit because I was the sound guy at the Cactus. I think that's how I met her. I ran sound at the Cactus. Pretty much
When?
Mid to late '90s, maybe early 2000.
We never crossed paths there?
I don't think so. You were playing rock and roll bar.
No, but
bars and
I
stuff,
did
right?
some pretty epic. Whoa, sorry. I did some pretty epic. Hey, Rosie. I did some pretty epic shows. Like I did a show there opening for Patty Griffin. I did one where I opened for Alejandro. And I can't remember why Gurf was there, but he was back. He was in the back. I can't remember if he played with Alejandro that night
Yeah.
or if he was just there.
Well, I wasn't there as a sound guy all the time. I was
okay.
like an alternate sound guy.
Was the other guy there? Jeff Hoskins, right? Wasn't there?
There was a Jeff there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And a guy named JC, kind of a crazy character from the East Side named JC.
Yeah.
And a guy who just passed away who was really great. What was his name?
Not Don Yarborough. No, he's still alive.
No, he had an interesting name, like Scrappy, that kind of name. What was his name? Shoot.
Huh.
Can't remember. And then, who else? I think Chris Montgomery, the songwriter, used to do sound there. A bunch of cool guys. Daryl Gleason, great songwriter.
Yeah.
All guys that I knew and gals that I knew at the, got to know at the open mics when I was first starting out in town.
When did you, in like 91, 92 era?
The very end of 91, I showed up. And in 92, I was playing a lot of open mics, 92, 93, 94.
Like, remember Michelle Solberg's open mic?
You know what? That was just about the time I was phasing out of that and starting to tour, I think.
Oh,
She was
okay.
at Chicago House, right?
No, she did a Cactus thing.
She did
I thought it was
Cactus, too?
hers. Maybe it was
so long
Don
ago.
Yarborough's one, or Jan Darborough, however they say his name. You know what I mean? Sorry, going back to that. I think that's that. As far as like, if I'm ever alone with my guitar, that place. Saxon Pub is great for that too. Mucky Duck in Houston,
Right.
Anderson Fair, but Cactus has. I really love that room.
That was a special place, you know. Griff Lunenberg, who ran it for so long, he had a real vision, you know, working as a sound guy. I saw even more than working as a opening act, as I was in the early years. Working as a sound guy, just seeing how he related to the staff there and the artists. You know, he had a vision for that place. You know, he curated that place with love. You know, and
Yeah.
and it came down to not just the selection of people that he booked there, but the way the curtain was hung behind the stage,
yeah.
and the way, you know, as a sound guy, part of my job was to prepare the room to switch it over from the daytime student center to the
Right,
nighttime
nighttime.
venue, and I'd close the shutters, and we moved stuff around, and the great the bartender Chris there would set the seats up. You know, Griff would. This is before the internet. Griff would somehow take a pulse on how many people he thought were coming that night, and they'd arrange the seating so that it would look full no matter how many people were there. So if it was a light crowd, they'd do tables and chairs. If it was a big crowd, they'd get rid of the chairs and just bring on all seats like theater style. So he just, like, every show was like a production there. It was really beautiful to watch.
And the sound there's always been so good.
That was a good sound, yeah.
Sure, I must have been there while you were running sound. I mean, I feel like I stopped going there like on the regular like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But before that, I was always going there. And I was always trying to figure out ways for my bands to play.
Well, that's why I got the sound gig. I thought,
Yeah.
you know, I would beg Griff for opening slots for
Yeah.
years. And I just thought, well, if I'm the sound guy and he forgot to book an opening act, I'll be the
Right.
Johnny on the
Yeah,
spot.
yeah.
And it worked. Once in a while, he'd forgotten to book an artist that week, and I'd slip in at the last minute.
Yeah. All right, so back to Maine.
Oh, yeah.
You're a kid. You played keyboards. You did Jungle Land at the recital.
At the piano recital.
The piano recital. And did you had a band, I read.
My buddy Rod Picott.
Right.
He
Who you
put
still
together
work with.
the first band. Yeah, we write songs together still. Yeah. He had the gumption. He had the audacity to say, "We're gonna do this," you know, because before somebody does that, it's just you're all just a bunch of dreamers, you know.
Yeah. I was that guy.
Yeah.
In my group of friends.
Yeah. I mean, I remember before we started the band in my like preteen years, I had like an air band. We'd get together and play guitar to each other.
Yeah.
But Rod was the one who had the balls to say, "We're going to do this," and he recruited me as the keyboard player because, you know, right at the time, Tom Petty and Springsteen and Jay Giles band were our big heroes, and I was you got to have a keyboard player for all those bands. So I had a little electronic piano and eventually got a Hammond Porta B and hauled that around for. Well, that band didn't really play out. We played a couple of high school assemblies and a couple of parties. And
What were you playing?
I was just playing keyboards.
No. Material.
It was all covers. It was Springsteen and Petty, and
okay.
the Stones and Jay Giles band, and
Wow, you did have good taste.
yeah, they were rocking. And then that didn't last long, of course. And then I answered an ad in the classifieds when I was 17, senior year of high school. Band looking for a keyboard player, local cover band, and they were all 26, 27 years old. And of course, that seemed ancient to me at the time. I was 17. But they rehearsed in a basement, and we got together a bunch of the top 40 songs of the day. So it was like Loverboy, you know, everybody's working for the weekend, and but also some cool stuff too. We did a couple Clash songs, and I think we did maybe done an REM song, and I can't remember what else. Some pretty cool stuff, but a few standards.
That would have been pretty early, like Murmur REM, right? That's pretty cool.
Would have had to be.
Yeah.
This is like 1982, 1983.
That's so cool.
Like that.
That was a great time for music. That's when I
exciting.
had my first band. That picture behind you is at my first gig in 1983.
Which one?
The one where I'm standing there with the guitar and I'm wearing the sleeveless shirt with the vest.
I have a picture like that.
Yeah.
I'm probably singing "I Will Follow" or something.
Yeah.
like that.
I think we played that at that
Really?
thing, dude. I swear to God, I really do.
Yeah, that's one I sang. So what happened was, I joined this cover band, and I was the keyboard player, and we had this wacky singer who the other guys threw out after about a year. But we had gigs on the books, and these are like hotel lounge gigs and bowling alley lounge gigs and stuff like that. So we all had to learn 5 or 6 songs,
Right.
and I'd never sung before in my life.
Yeah.
And it turned out that I could do it, and it was a thrill. And I sang behind the keyboard, and eventually I would work up the courage to stand up at a microphone and sing in my leather trousers and sing I Will Follow, or what's the other one I did? I did a Stray Cat Strut,
Yeah.
and a couple other. I did a Pretender song. It was Precious, I think.
Great song.
Yeah. So this is bar band music. In my year, I took a year off between high school and college, and that's when I played in this cover band.
That's cool. Did you make like bread? Were you playing and like?
No, I worked at Sears in the daytime.
Okay.
In the warehouse, and I remember
Sears.
Yeah, Sears warehouse.
It's not even around anymore.
I don't think it is.
No, it's not.
I'm not surprised. It was very dysfunctional even back then. They did this craziest thing. They would they had this inventory system where if they sold a certain amount of items in 1 month, they'd order the same amount plus 10% the next month. That was some sales guy's idea of how to sell more stuff. Well, what would happen is there would be a heat wave in Maine,
Yeah.
for a week, and 100 people would buy air conditioners in July and August, and then in September, 10 of them would come back because, Sears would accept returns.
Right.
But where the truck would show up with 110 AC units in September,
Oh.
and they'd be clogging up the warehouse.
Oh, yeah. What a terrible.
As an 18-year-old, I knew that somebody's not running this company right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I worked at Sears in the day, and we played shows locally at night. I remember, I think we got $750 for 3 nights at the Spartan Lounge. So it was pretty low pay.
Yeah, that is. So when you went to college and then in your junior year or something, you went abroad to Cork?
Yeah, I think my freshman year I joined a buddy's band.
Yeah.
It was sort of my first original, half cover band. A couple of my first songs were with that.
Oh, really?
band. Yeah, I forget about them sometimes because it was so short-lived, and I don't have any record of the songs anymore, I don't think. But then junior year abroad is when I switched over to guitar. I had a serious girlfriend that sophomore year, fell deeply in love with a Irish-American gal. And she got it in her head that it would be so romantic if we went over to Ireland for our junior year of college. And I signed up for it. I was sure, I like you too.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I knew about Ireland, pretty much. Van Morrison. And I missed a few hints, and she ended up dumping me on the plane over there, pretty much. And so I found myself in Ireland alone. No girlfriend, no friends, no family, no car, no bike, no phone.
Nothing.
No TV, no stereo, nothing, Except I had a guitar that I was just learning how to play, and I had a suitcase. I had a suitcase of clothes and a suitcase of cassettes that I'd made from my records and my dad's records and my mom's records. And this was in 1985. And I was bound and determined to learn how to sing and play. And I thought the best way to do that, I'd never sung and played guitar before. And I thought the best way to do it would be as a busker. And there was this great busking scene in Cork, which had this great sort of pedestrian streets downtown, a lot of people shopping every night, going to pubs and all that. So it was very vital. Lots of buskers. And I just watched them for a while and learned the etiquette. And I learned a song a day for a month. And then I went out there on a designated date that I'd set for myself, a goal date, and set up my little pitch and sang my little broken heart out on the streets of Cork. And, made enough money for a pint and some chips on the way home. And that's how I started my career.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Worked out well.
So you met Karen there in Maine when you came back?
Yeah, I came back to
Yeah.
Maine, finished up college.
What were you going to do? What was your dream at that point? You weren't going to be a professional musician, were you?
It was so nebulous. I didn't know how to go about it. There's no.
You're going to be a philosopher.
Right, exactly.
That's what my mom got a degree in.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to get a job with my philosophy degree, and all I could get was a job in a darkroom printing pictures because I took some photography classes in high school and college. But it was always in the back of my mind that, wouldn't it be great to make a living as a musician? But how do you get from here to there? And this is before the internet, and
Yeah.
this is before there were many opportunities for anyone. I guess you could be a local guy playing at the pub, or you were Bruce Springsteen. There didn't seem to be anything
Exactly
in
right.
between,
Yeah, no middle.
Or
Yeah.
I couldn't see that. I didn't see that anymore.
Right.
So I just, what did I do? I just worked on my craft. I wrote songs. I busked. I did open mics. I did bar gigs. And then I guess right after I met Karen in Portland, Maine, somebody offered me a slot at a church coffee house series gig. And that's the first time I ever did a concert. It was always just playing in the corner next to the TV. At the bar.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember actually playing in southern Maine, which is only an hour or so from Boston. In southern Maine, playing underneath a big screen TV that was showing the last game of the Stanley Cup playoffs, and Boston was in the Stanley Cup. I was playing my gig, and whenever the crowd of 20 would roar, I'd say, "Thank you very much." They were roaring at the hockey game. But some fans who had seen me play at a restaurant or something, they invited me to a church coffee house concert, which rattled me because I'd never been in a room where everyone was looking at me and waiting for me to say something and sing some things. But it taught me that's the next step for me, and so I started to seek out that kind of gig and pursue that sort of that world of the sort of folk music coffee house singer-songwriter world, and I felt like I couldn't really do that in Portland, Maine, because it's just a small town. I think Portland was only 60,000 people at that time, and it's the biggest city in Maine. So I just figured I need to go to a music town, and I sort of eliminated all the other music towns and read about Austin in early '91 in Rolling Stone, talking about this new thing called South by Southwest.
Yeah. The article had like David Halley and like a couple other people in it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, totally remember that.
I think the headline was something like Austin, Texas with a heaven with a Texas zip code. There was something about that, and that's what I remember reading. It sounded like heaven to me. And also, I saw Joe Ely play on TV right around that time in '91, I think. And that's the kind of just genre-wise or just persona-wise, that was what I was going for. You know, the storytelling, songwriting blend of country and rock and roll, and I knew it was about his association with the Clash, and so they had that sort of outlaw attitude to it too. Not that I'm an outlaw, but that appealed to me. That sort of what he was doing. I just thought, if I can open up for him for a few years, and people like him in Austin as sort of like a graduate school to learn how to do what they do, then maybe I can find my place in this world. And that's why I moved to Austin.
Who were the guys that, like, when you got here, that you got into? So like LaFave was very active then. Yeah. And the Saxon Pub just opened, right?
The Saxon Pub was there. I used to do Olin Merle's open mic there. I came down knowing almost nothing. Like, I'd heard Joe Ely, and when I told people I was moving to Texas, they told me about... I knew about Lyle Lovett. People told me about Guy Clark and Butch and Jimmy Dale. Right. And so I sought those guys out, and I started to try to get opening slots for Butch when he played at the Cactus. I did that a few times. I just studied under those guys, but I fell in with Ray Wiley Hubbard after a few years, and he became a mentor, as he has to many gals and guys over the years. Very, very generous with his wisdom and his support. And, you know, he's the kind of guy that would just call up and say, "Hey, Slaid, played a new show down in Port Aransas that I think you'd really like. I think you'd be a perfect fit. Here's the guy's number. Give him a call." You know, just unsolicited help, you know, just he's such a good guy.
They have that vibe. When I did the podcast, when I did the podcast with them, I was leaving, and it was just a couple, or maybe the year before the pandemic or something. And I was getting out to my car. I was about to get into my car. They walked me out, and they were standing on their porch like together. Mm-hmm. And Ray goes, "Hey, if you ever need anything, holler." Yeah. And I had like this feeling like that guy's not joking. No. I bet if I called him and I was like, "Hey man, can you help me out with this problem I've got going on?" I mean, not like, you know, give me $100 or something, but like, you know what I mean? I bet he'd be like, "Yeah, sure." Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, just I did. The way I met LaFave was I had been here for a year, so it was early '93, and LaFave, I think he saw me play at the Chicago House open mic. He's another guy who's just very generous with his fellow musicians and always looking for the young folks coming up through the ranks and supporting them. You know, he did that for his whole life, as far as I know. So he saw me play at the Chicago House open mic and invited me to the Woody Guthrie tribute show that his buddy Greg Johnson was putting on at La Zona Rosa. And all the big Austin singer-songwriters are going to be there. I think David Halley, I think Joe Ely. I don't think Lucinda was there. She was on a different one. But
was Picasso happening then?
I don't think he was on the scene yet. Yeah. Just another couple of years later. But the Austin Lounge Lizards were there, and Marcia Ball and Sarah Elizabeth Campbell, and that whole scene. And I really wanted to impress that scene because I was still kind of a nobody and just scraping by. And thankfully, my wife had given me the previous year a copy of Pastures of Plenty, which was the first release of the Woody Guthrie archives in 1991. I think that came out, or 90. It was when Nora Guthrie, Woody's daughter, was taking over the archives from Woody's manager from the old days, Harold Leventhal, I think was his name. And so I found some lyrics in that book that hadn't been released before, and I put them to music, and I played them at the Woody Guthrie tribute. And Jimmy heard that and was like, man, you got to call Nora Guthrie and send her that song. And I did. I sent her a cassette tape with a demo, and I never heard back from her for a year or so. And Jimmy asked me again a year later, hey, man, he was getting to know Nora pretty well there,
right.
Doing their Oklahoma connection and everything. I think he lobbied on my behalf is what happened. And Nora called me and said, hey, we love what you did with the song, and we want to give you permission to put this on your next record. Well, Nora told me years later that Harold Leventhal saw my cassette and asking permission to put my Woody Guthrie co-write on my little cassette that I was putting out that year. He saw my cassette and threw it in the trash can and said, the audacity of this young man messing with Woody Guthrie's sacred words, And Nora claims that she fished it out of the trash can and set it on a shelf and said, when Harold's gone, I'm going to do something with this. And she said that's what sparked the Wilco.
The Wilco, because I was about to say.
Mm-hmm, that came soon after.
Predates it, yeah.
Yeah. So,
wow.
Because of LaFave, I made that connection, and so many good things happened after that.
What an amazing thing.
Yeah, and also LaFave invited me onto his tribute show, the Ribbon of Highway, Endless Skyway tribute to Woody Guthrie. Did you ever catch that when it was in town?
Mm-mm.
And that was a powerful show. It was Eliza was on it, and Sarah Lee, Arlo's daughter, and Johnny Irion. Do you know Johnny?
Mm-mm.
He's from L.A., but he's married. He was married to Sarah Lee Guthrie. Who else? Ray Bonneville, Kevin Welch. There was sort of a rotating cast of singers, and then Bob Childers, an grizzled old Oklahoma songwriter with a great speaking voice. He read Woody Guthrie writings in between the songs that set up the songs, and Woody's writings are a treasure trove of philosophy and wit and wisdom and knowledge. And so that was just I got goosebumps thinking about it. We took that show on the road for a couple of weeks in 2002 or 3, I think, something like that. A couple of times in the 2000s. But that was just a great way to get to meet Eliza. She traveled in the van with me for several weeks and wrote a song together with Ellis Paul and Jeff Plankenhorn in the Blue Whale there in my van.
Nice.
So really great memories. And it all came out of Jimmy LaFave's generosity and vision.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Does Plank play? You play. Michael O'Connor plays with you, and Scrappy plays with you. Does Plank do any?
It's been a long time, but I played with Michael a lot, starting on the Broke Down tour in 2000.
I really like that guy.
He's a great guy, great writer, great player, great storyteller.
Yeah.
And I think first time I played with Michael and Plank, I think I went and saw Ray play. And that was his band, was O'Connor and Plankenhorn.
Oh, wow.
And I think Ray asked me to come up and do a song with the guys.
Right.
And so I did a simple song, and they nailed it, of course, And I kind of stole them from Ray. I think Ray started using somebody else, and I immediately picked up Michael and Jeff to tour with for several years.
That's awesome.
That was the early 2000s.
Yeah. Michael... when Michael did this a few months ago, we spent so much time talking about Kiss. It was unbelievable. And there was even like this weird story where I was like, I played in Corpus one time opening for a Kiss tribute band. He's like, Destroyer? He's like, I was there. I'm like, oh my God, that was so weird. Anyway, there's a song of yours that has like this huge amount of plays, and a specific version has it. It's a live version of Breakfast in Hell. That's the name of the album?
Yeah.
That song? Okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out what it was that that propelled that song? Like, what is it? Is it because there's a sing-along thing with the is it because Oliver Steck's so awesome that, that's why you should have him on all your songs?
It's a mystery I've spent hours and hours trying to research, but yeah, when
Was it in a movie or something, or on a show?
It's the live version of this epic workplace disaster song that occurs in Canada in the 1800s, live from the Horseshoe Lounge. The record came out in 2011, and somehow around 2015, 16 or so, it just went crazy on Spotify. And it was like my number one song on Spotify by a long shot.
Yeah.
Bigger Than Broke Down.
Yeah.
For years and years and years. And recently the album version has eclipsed it. But they're the top two songs on Spotify. I think it got on a playlist that was really influential. Not a Spotify playlist, but a playlist of a band called the Dead South that had a huge burst of popularity right around that time. And I think they featured it in their playlist, and that's how I got all those streams. I think that's what happened. But it just goes, I've spent hours and hours researching how to put out my latest record. As soon as we finished it a year ago, I went online to look at blogs and videos and everything to try to figure out how to release an indie record. And, I jumped through all the hoops. I put out singles every 6 weeks to leading up to the album, and I changed my bio, and I did this and did that. And that didn't seem to do anything compared to what Breakfast in Hell did without any effort on my part at all.
Right.
So who knows? It's a mystery.
Yeah. I mean, that live version is epic. And the Oliver getting the people doing the thing and leading the people in it, like that chant thing is way more pronounced in that live version.
Of course, yeah.
It does add a level of excitement that when you go listen to the recorded one, you're like, man, they should put that shit louder. You know what I mean? I just thought that was interesting, and I was wondering, do you have any songs like on like Yellowstone or anything? I know that guy's a fan of Texas songwriters.
No, I lucked out and got a song on the show Billions.
Oh, that's cool.
Ago, and that's through a friend.
Were you on that guy's podcast?
Yeah, Brian Koppelman.
Okay, Brian Koppelman. That's right.
The Moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I'd never listened to it, but now it just came back to me. I was like, I remember seeing your name on there, maybe telling Scrappy, like, hey, Slade's on Brian Koppelman's podcast.
Yeah, it's a really cool podcast. Very
It
eclectic.
is a really cool.
It's everything from comedians to newscast journalists and artists. And Brian he's a very interesting fellow.
His dad was Charles Koppelman,
Yeah.
right? The SBK or SKB or whatever
Yeah,
that
record
label
producer.
was.
Yeah. But Brian's been an A&R man, and he's been a movie writer. He wrote the film Rounders,
Right.
with a co-writer. And right now he's a showrunner for the show Billions on Showtime. I got in touch with him. He heard my song One Good Year on WFUV in New York City in 2000 and sent me an email right away and just told me how much he loved the song. And so we've been sort of pen pals a little bit since then. But in the last few years, we've gotten to be closer. He invited me onto the set of the show.
Oh, how cool!
It was so cool. He gave us a tour of a set, a location set, and we wrote a song together for the new album. Actually, the song he writes songs as like a hobby. It turns out for the last few years. I don't know how he has time, but he sent me a song just over a year ago, and it was had a lot of promise, but it needed some work, and I sent it back to him, and we batted it back and forth like I do with my co-writers, just for a week or so, and the song Puncher's Chance is when
really?
started. Yeah.
I love that song.
It came out really
Reminds
good.
me of my Uncle Jack.
Yeah.
It does. It really does.
I'm starting to hear that. That's the response.
About my specific uncle. No, Joey.
No, that's the response. If people like that song, it's because it reminds them of some family
Isn't
member.
that funny? Yeah, I wrote that down. It's like, reminds me of Uncle Jack. Like the fourth time I heard it, I was like, who is this guy? Wait, it's Uncle Jack.
That's great.
Yeah.
glad to hear
That's
that.
so funny you say.
And I've never asked Brian if it's based on anyone he knows or whether it's just totally made up. I need to ask him that.
In your songs, there's a lot of making up people, but are there real people?
It's mostly real people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's mostly thinly disguised. people, if at all.
Yeah.
I don't have that much imagination, frankly. I hear an interesting story or see an interesting character. I just want to sort of document it.
Yeah. Did you do the Bob Lefsetz podcast?
No, I've never done his.
I love him.
Do you still do one?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I've read his blog a lot of times.
Yeah. I remember when his blog was a thing, but like when I started listening to his podcast, he's cool. It's like somebody's uncle too.
Yeah.
Like he was always asking if people have enough money to live on and stuff like that. It's really awesome. Yeah. It's funny. I had Kathy Valentine on here after she was on his show. We're really good friends. Like we have a band together and stuff. And so I just started with asking her all these financial questions. And she was like, who are you, Bob Lefsetz? And I was like, that's what I was doing. Because I could tell it was irritating her when I was listening to her episode. Right. Oh, speaking of people that are irritated by Bob Lefsetz. Trish Murphy, what song of yours did she sing on?
She sang on two. Well, one was let's see. She sang on, I can hear it in my, Green Mountains in Me.
Okay.
And I think she sang on something else that I ended up going to a different producer with and doing something different with. But no, there is Dreams, I think, a song called Dreams on the same record. Yeah, she sang on two.
Okay. I'll go back and
Dreams
listen to this again.
And Green Mountains in Me.
I'm in a band with her in this band Skyrocket, and that's the one that those guys from Teenage Men are in that band too. It's like a whole thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was telling her that I was going to be talking to you, and she was like, I was like, do you know him? And she was like, yeah, I sang on a couple of his records.
Mm-hmm. She did a great job. Beautiful.
Yeah, she's fucking like, she's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, even though we're in a cover band together, one thing that makes me sad about the cover band is that she really stopped like writing and putting shit out. And like, it wasn't just that people liked her. Like, she was really good.
Yeah. I miss the new Trish record, It's,
Yeah.
I'm very sad too that it hasn't happened. My wife too is a huge fan.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
I'll tell her. I bet you'll be happy to hear that. Yeah. So who sings? There's some female voice on this new album.
Oh yeah, that's Robin Ludwig.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah, she's great. She lives just down the road from us. So, yeah, the whole record up until Robin came in was just me and Scrappy and Pat, and then we just wanted some harmony singing on a couple songs. Called up Robin. She came over the next day and nailed them. So it was really quick.
Yeah, she's really cool too.
Yeah. Have you been down to the Devil's Backbone since she?
No, that's a venue out there?
Yeah, she bought the Devil's Backbone, which is this classic old roadhouse on the county line that had been sort of fallen into disrepair. She and her husband, John, they
Lunch
bought
meat.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They bought it. They fixed it up beautiful. They didn't change the main bar or anything, but they fixed up the dance hall, brought in great sound, and they do music, and they do swap meets, and I'm doing she just started a monthly hootenanny. I think last month was the first one. I'm doing the one at the end of this month, April, and it's a theme. I think it's a alcohol and drugs theme or something like that. And she's I know that I think Bruce Robinson's going to be there. And
I was thinking Charlie. Sorry, that's why I laughed.
Right. Charlie has a couple gigs there coming up. His return from retirement. Yeah, but she's doing a fantastic job, just making it like a community place.
Yeah. You were an alcohol and drugs guy. Were you? No.
I'm a drinker, but not recovering.
Right. Not in the you don't.
Not in the party sense. No.
Right.
I'm just sort of a late night drinker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Safe drinker. No problems there.
So far, yeah. Right.
And your wife goes. It must be so nice. You guys. I mean, you must get along. I mean, you've been together.
Yeah.
Jesus, how long have you been together?
Since '89, so 34 years.
Wow.
Yeah. When I first, with the success of Broke Down, she was still working a day job in Austin, and I would be gone sometimes for 6 weeks, and that was exciting at first, but that got really hard on a relationship. Yeah, it does get hard on a relationship. That's not what we signed up for. We want to be together. So that's when she started phasing out of her day job and phasing into working together with the family business, working in booking and working in management and merchandise and road management. so that she could come out on the tour with me. And that's become full time for us. So we're together all the time now, which
Yeah.
brings up its own challenges because,
Sure.
especially for her, because it's all Slaid all the time, everything.
That's what
she
I was going to say.
touches
It's kind of, yeah.
has my name on it. And,
Yeah.
the contracts and the merch and
Yeah.
the posters and everything. So it's up to me and it's up to us together to find stuff outside of the career. When you're self-employed, with a partner, it's important to find something outside the career to give us a break here from time to time.
Do you have a hobby?
It's hard.
So you have a chainsaw and a ladder, according to your Instagram.
Yeah,
Which made me worry.
my hobby is taking care of our old, not decrepit, our old house that needs a lot of attention and yard that needs a lot of attention. We lost a lot of limbs in the ice storm.
Oh, yeah.
And I got out my dad's 1979 steel chainsaw, and I just it wouldn't run, and it was breaking my back. It's a big, heavy old 40-year-old saw. So I splurged and got an electric one, and I love it. I got a battery-powered chainsaw, and it's fantastic.
Awesome.
It's lighter, it's quieter, no fumes,
Yeah.
no gas, and easier on my back, and that's great.
That house stuff, man, if you're into it, it's really fun because it's also super gratifying. It's like
Yeah.
painting, like you see what you did.
Once you get over the
Yeah.
reluctance to start, there's so many chores.
procrastination.
Where do you
Yeah.
start?
Yeah.
It can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
But I agree, it is very rewarding. And now that we have these musical devices, we can listen to podcasts and catch up on music and stuff.
Yeah. What do you like? How do you find new music?
How I find a lot of music is the Wimberley Valley radio show. It's my hometown radio.
There you go.
Every morning, Monday through Friday, Over Easy with Coach has a local musician on 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, it's someone I never heard of.
Right.
And so I found a lot of cool musicians from that. By the way, Gunnar Woodson is who do you know him? He was in the band The Big Gun Show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just did his podcast earlier
Oh,
today.
yeah, the 5 songs.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah, he's a good
Have
guy.
you done that one yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so
I
much
did.
fun.
In fact, I was just emailing with him last week about coming on the show.
Yeah.
He got some new album out.
It's such a cool podcast, yeah.
Yeah, it is really cool.
And it got me listening to some of my favorite albums over the years. So
What were your top 5? Not
top
to
5.
steal his podcast. Oh, wait. You're going to have to tell me off the thing because it's going to come out before that one.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Right.
That's mean. I don't want to cock block Gunner. He's a good guy.
Very pro of you.
Thanks,
Yeah,
man.
he is. He does a great job with that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, as far as like you do that, but are there any like playlists on Spotify? Have you had that weird AI DJ come on and start talking to you?
No, what's that?
Oh my God. I have to learn all these songs for Skyrocket, right?
Oh, right.
So I had to. The last one we had to learn was well, not the last one. One of the last ones I had to spend a lot of time working on and playing over and over again was "Just a Gigolo," right, by David Lee Roth.
Yeah.
So Scrappy's gonna be like, "Man, you had Slaid on, and you just talked about like David Lee Roth songs that nobody likes." So I don't like that song. I mean, whatever. It doesn't do anything for me. But I had to listen to it like probably 40 times or something like that.
Yeah.
Just practice it, learn it, and do all that stuff. This thing comes on, and it's like the AI DJ, and I'm like, "Oh, what's that?" And it's like a new feature. So you click on this thing, and this guy comes on. And it's like, "Hey, Johnny, it's me, like Lewis, you're new." Like it's
this
very
on
disturbing and
Spotify?
on Spotify.
Wow.
And then he's like, "I know you're really into David Lee Roth."
Oh, jeez. Uh-oh.
So it just kept on playing all these songs I had to learn for Skyrocket, so I turned it off. But
Jeez.
it's pretty weird. Like that AI shit freaks me out.
Yeah. Well, the recommendations, I found that very interesting. As I talked about earlier, how I kind of researched all the streaming services to try to figure out the best way to get my record onto them. And that entailed just spending a lot of time on them. And the recommendations were recommending music that was really good that I'd never heard of, Like when I was listening to my top 5 favorites over the last week, at the end of a Tom Waits album, John Lurie came up, really cool guy.
All right.
And he was in, I can't remember, he was in those Jim Jarmusch movies in the 80s. But I can't remember the names of them because literally I'd never heard of these acts, and some of them are tiny and some of them are huge. I just never heard of them. So, as much as people are down on Spotify for discovering new music, it's a pretty damn good tool, I got to admit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. That's the I mean, you went through it as I went through it. Like, you would have a CD release show and you would sell a whole bunch of merch, and you would have stuff you could sell on the road and stuff like that. And you would make money from these albums, and then you make money from the songs, people buying them at the place, all this kind of stuff. And all of that coming to a close and people not knowing what to do and not really, cause I mean, there's people like I remember, it wasn't 10 years ago, but I'd say like 5-6 years ago, Kimmy Rhodes, I wrote some songs with her and played on one of her records, and she's like, I'm not putting any records on Spotify, and just like not doing it. And you're like, look, it's not going to go away. Right. It's not like buying records is going to come back because you're taking this stance. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's a difficult sort of thing to embrace and just kind of go with. I mean, is it something that has it taken up a lot of your bandwidth to adapt over the last like 15 years?
No, I wouldn't say that. I think I'm at the age, and my audience is at the age where they still do. They want to buy something at the show. Yeah. And maybe it's a CD, maybe it's a T-shirt, maybe it's a koozie or something. Yeah. Karen came up with the idea. She made a commemorative candle for the Terwilliger Chili Queen. Yeah, yeah. And just as a joke, and people are buying them.
Well, I mean, that's also the cool thing. Like, if you find it fun and exciting to come up with new shit to sell that has nothing to do with your music, really, it can be really fun.
I'd rather do that than make 50 TikTok videos. That's what you're supposed to do now. That's the latest. You're supposed to do 50 versions of the chorus of your song and post them all on TikTok. Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
And I'm not siding with any kind of governmental thing, but I did get TikTok and I downloaded, and it felt like malware.
Yeah,
like it
looks
felt.
Like
it had the vibe of malware.
Yeah, it looks like junk.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
anyway,
can't go there. But I've been studying Spotify to try to figure out how I live there. But like I said, I jumped through all the hoops and it didn't really do anything. So,
who does your social media? It's not you, right?
Karen does Facebook, and I do the rest.
Okay,
I don't do a very good job. It's just not my
me
thing.
neither. I don't think it's I think we would be like Scrappy, just like out there with no thing, if we could.
Yeah,
I don't know how he does it, because I feel like no one's seeing you to get into your thing.
Yeah, it's just so absurd that I have supposedly 5,000 followers, and I post something about the new record, and
yeah,
a few hundred people see it at most, and a couple dozen people maybe respond.
Don't get me started.
Yeah,
I post a picture of me with my grandma. I mean, she's almost 100 years old, and she is totally awesome. Wow. However, like, I'll get like 400 likes. Hey, this new song I've worked on. I got a band together and worked on it, hired Scrappy, went to the church place with, I'm still drawing a blank on his last name. Dave Boyle.
Dave Boyle.
Boyle, yeah. Dave. So used to saying that. Anyway, I'll put that out, and it's like, again, like 22 likes. You're like, really? Like, I worked really hard on this.
Yeah. It's so disheartening.
And it's a really good song.
Yeah, it's so disheartening.
Yeah. Well, it hasn't discouraged you from making, possibly your best work. I mean, to date, right? You just get better and better as a songwriter, and you just keep making better records. I mean, I think so.
Well, that's lovely to hear.
Yeah, and it's weird when you spend a condensed time with someone's entire career. I did that with a couple people over the last couple weeks. You and, he's great. Everybody loves him. He's very popular right now. Robert Ellis. Oh, amazing.
Yeah. He's very interesting.
Yeah. That guy's happening, man. Yeah. But anyway, like, getting to see someone's growth span. Like, I didn't get into anything pre-97. Right. Didn't have any of those cassettes. Right. Could have gone back to Lubbock or leave it and picked up a couple.
Scary.
Yeah. But I'm blown away by your output and the quality of your output, and the fact that you spend 40 hours on a song now, I understand. But now it was making me feel bad in one way that you were so good, but now it's making me feel like lazy. I just spend a lot more time on those songs. But in my conversations with Gaucher, she says the same thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, there's something beautiful about capturing inspiration, and I've written a couple songs. It came out pretty quick, and but these days, like I said, I usually think of a song as a project or a puzzle to solve, and I just want to get all the pieces just right.
Yeah,
and that takes a long time.
It does,
because there's so many options. It's a lot of trial and error.
Yeah,
it's a lot of really tough self-criticism, not self-criticism, but self-evaluation.
Yeah,
and that was a real turning point in my career in the '90s when I wasn't getting anywhere. I was losing money, and couldn't find an audience, and putting out cassettes and nobody buying them. I just thought, I just thought of it purely in sort of capitalistic terms or Darwinistic terms. It's just I'm not good enough. I have to get better. Every line of every song has to mean it. Every word of every line of every song has to work. It has to be the best possible word that I can use. And once I got really hard on my songwriting and got a little less precious about them, and started opening up to co-writing with colleagues that I trusted, that's when good things started to happen. So it was hard to get there, because I had to really face, when I was writing the songs for Broke Down, it was this is it, buddy. You're $25,000 in debt. You haven't shown any meaningful progress towards making this a career in 10 years. And your wife is paying all the bills and working 3 jobs, and you've tapped out your friends and your family and your credit cards. And if this record doesn't make it, you're going to have to look for something else to do. And I was 35 years old and I had no other skills. So everything was on the line with the Broke Down record. And I think that sort of informs the songwriting and the production and the promotion I did for it. I gave it everything I had and got lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes a lot, but you still have to give it everything you have. Like there's a lot of luck and a lot of,
Yeah.
a lot of stars have to line up for anything to happen.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you got to be prepared.
Yeah.
And that's, There was something that Scrappy was saying that this record does have some kind of journey in going from the dark to the light,
Yeah. It starts with Through the Dark and it ends with Make Your Own Light.
Yeah.
Which is, we came up with a sequence together and it went back and forth a few times. But I think we always had those songs first and last. Yeah.
Everyone get out there and check this out. Through the Dark. Together Through the Dark is the name of the album. Through the Dark is the song from it. SlaidCleaves.com. You'll be touring up for the rest of the summer year.
Yeah.
Summer year.
Yeah, we just we did a tour short, just like our Rock and Roll Heroes. We have the album cover on the front and about 45 tour dates on the back,
Awesome.
all over the country. So,
I miss those kind of shirts.
yeah, we just got them on sale at Slaid.com.
That's rad.
We're at the shows. Yeah.
Or at the shows. Is anybody open for you and tour with you or anything? Or?
Not recently, no. Once in a while we do it. We took Graham Weber out with us when he
I
was
love
starting
him.
out. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's really, really great.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. Yeah. Do you do any of that House of Song stuff? Or?
I haven't done anything with Graham with that, no.
No. All right. Dude, this has been great talking to you. Have fun. People can see you in California, like starting, this is coming out on Friday, April 14th. Tomorrow they'll be at McCabe's Guitar Shop, legendary place. I just had Peter Case on here.
Oh, great.
And that place was kind of made for him to play there.
Really?
I think.
I never
Yeah,
heard
the
that
venue.
story.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Something
Yes.
like that. I watched this documentary that they made about him that's coming out in a couple months. Anyway, Slaid Cleaves, thank you so much for doing the show. It's been great talking to you. I'm sure we got to do it again because there's just a lot of other stuff I should ask you about.
I appreciate so much you doing the deep dive on me. You put a lot of time and effort into that, and I'm really honored.
Yeah, I'm. Thank you. I should have done it a long time ago, but I'm really glad I did.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, man, thanks.
When the night comes creeping in and the day has begun.
That was Slaid Cleaves, his new album, Together Through the Dark, produced by my dear friend Scrappy Judd Newcomb, available now. And if you live in California on the West Coast, you can see them. They'll be out on tour starting tomorrow, April 15th, Saturday, April 15th at McCabe's Guitar Shop in Santa Monica, California. They'll be out until the 24th. Get out there. They'll be up in the Portland. They'll be up in the Seattle. They'll be down in the places. Get out there and check it out, man. Go to slaidcleaves.com. Check out this record, Together Through the Dark, available on vinyl, CD, and streaming services. All right? I want to thank Slaid for coming down here and doing the show. I had a really, really, really good time talking to him, and I'm glad we finally met and became friends. Hey, gang, don't forget when you're out there checking out slaidcleaves.com, you can subscribe to this podcast wherever it is that you find podcasts. And also, you will find the last 100 episodes on all of your streaming services, be it Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Overcast, Stitcher, anywhere. The last 100 episodes are available there. Get out there. Dig in. Check it out. Go listen to Rudy Sarzo, Smithereens, Quiet Company, Ruthie Foster, Urban Heat. So many podcasts. Let's listen to the rest of this great, great song called Through the Dark. First song on Together Through the Dark by the amazing Slaid Cleaves. All right, have a great weekend, whatever it is you're doing. I love you. Let's get down.
Chaos in the stars, through endless time, the same old dance. We stray out into the dark in search of one last chance. When the night comes creeping in and the day has left a mark, I'll take you by the hand. Together through the dark, I'll tend the fire through the night and through the doubt. Can't fight the storm outside, but we can wait it out. This world is hard from the day you're born. You can't pick up the rose without a handful of thorns, holding on to the slimmest hope. You can beg for mercy, or you can pray for a little more hope. When the doubt comes creeping in and life has left a mark, I'll take you by the hand. Together through the dark. When the night comes creeping in and the day has left a mark, I'll take you by the hand. Together through the dark. Together through the dark.